All right, guys. Now we're going to talk about trades that every single team should do in the offseason. We're getting all our information from an article from Bleacher Report, just so you know. So in this trade, the Nuggets would receive Buddy Hield, and the Kings would receive Gary Harris, Keita Bates-Diop, the 2020 first-round pick, and the 2022 first-round pick, which is lottery protected. Muhammad, what do you think about this trade?
I think the Nuggets give up a little bit too much here for Buddy Hield. Obviously, he's an amazing shooter. With Gary Harris not getting traded, then that would open up another spot in the rotation for Buddy Hield to shine. Then again, his defense isn't like anything special, so they would have to cover it up by probably having
Jeremy Grant?
Yeah, they would
re-sign him.
Yeah, they would probably have to cover up by playing Jeremy Grant more minutes, something like that. Since Gary Harris's defense is better than Buddy Hield's, but his offensive production has dipped significantly the past 2 years. I mean, I guess I could see how this would be a fair trade, but I think maybe Sacramento throws in a second rounder just to even it out a little bit. Salary-wise, this all fits. Gary Harris and Keita Bates-Diop. I think that's around. Buddy Hield's making like $15 million, not $15. Buddy Hield's making like $15 million per year right now on a team that he doesn't want to be on. I don't know how much he would score on the Nuggets because he would obviously compensate for Gary Harris's production, but I think this could be a good trade for the Nuggets if they really want to pick up another shooter.
Yeah, and I think the Nuggets having that third star is really important to them and their team, and I feel like they would definitely be a much better team with Buddy Hield, even though they would lose Gary Harris. I think the Nuggets should do whatever they can to get a third star. The next trade we're going to talk about is Bradley Beal to the Grizzlies, and in this trade, the Grizzlies would receive Bradley Beal, and the Wizards would receive Brandon Clark, Justice Winslow, Dillon Brooks, a 2020 first-round pick, and a 2022 first-round pick. It seems like who else did the Grizzlies have? They only have Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr., right?
Well, they're trading away Dillon Brooks, who's the third leading scorer on their team, and then I'd say Jonas Valanciunas is a solid rebounder who plays pretty mediocre defense. So I would say take out Brandon Clark and Justice Winslow because Justice Winslow has been god-awful since he left the Miami Heat. Brandon Clark's production, it's solid, but it's I mean, he's not amazing, but I'd say take out one first-round pick and throw in Jonas Valanciunas. And the only reason I'm saying that, because I think this deal, like the original deal that Bleacher Report suggested, is solid, which is weird since it's Bleacher Report. But like the Washington Wizards have been reluctant to trade any, like, to even take offers for Bradley Beal. Because remember when the Lakers were trying to pick him up?
Yeah.
Like they just weren't even. They always said there was like talks going on, but there was nothing actually happening because they just won't give him up. Like John Wall was looking for trade options around 2017 before he signed his big contract, and they wanted too much for him. So if Washington's willing to go into like the full rebuild here and get rid of Bradley Beal and then pick up some younger players like Brandon Clark and Dillon Brooks, then I guess this would be good for them. But I doubt that they would take this deal.
Wait, hold on. You wanna take out a pick and then throw in Valanciunas?
I know. I'm saying that's what the Wizards would want. I think this trade is fine as it is.
They would want Valanciunas, Clark, Winslow, and Brooks, and a pick.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, Bradley Beal is a good player. He averaged 30 points, but he was on the Wizards. Like, anyone can average. I mean, not anyone, but like, it's easier to average 30 points when you're on the Wizards. He's still a good player, but he's not worth those 4 players on the Grizzlies. But if the Wizards do accept this trade, I think they should just go full rebuild mode. And their whole team is basically all young players. I mean, you have Isaac Bonga, Mo Wagner, Roy Hachimura, Thomas Bryant. Those are all really young players. And then in this trade, they're picking up a lot of other young players, except for Justice Winslow. So I think this would be a really good trade for the Wizards and the Grizzlies. The next trade has been coming up recently. So I think this trade is Chris Paul to the Bucks. The Bucks would receive Chris Paul, and the Thunder would receive Eric Bledsoe, George Hill, Ersan Ilyasova, and DJ Wilson. I think for the Bucks, this would be an amazing trade for the Bucks to do, because their number one priority right now is to keep Giannis. They can't trade him away this season, but next season they're going to want to keep him around for free agency. He's not a free agent this offseason, but the next offseason after this one, he's going to be a free agent. And they're going to want to convince him that they can bring in other stars. And I think this year, if they bring in Chris Paul, that would mean a whole lot to Giannis. And it would definitely influence his decision when he becomes a free agent. What do you think?
I think this is the best move Milwaukee can make right now, like you said, to keep Giannis in Milwaukee. Obviously, next year, they'll be able to sign him to the biggest contract in NBA history. And Chris Paul this year had an amazing comeback season for the Thunder. He became the floor general that we all knew him to be, being extremely efficient from the field, efficient from three, like just taking this Thunder team to places where people didn't think they could go this year. Obviously, going into the taking the Houston Rockets to 7 games. And he's made some interesting comments when it comes to the Thunder. He said, "Yeah, I had a great time playing here," like past tense even. Obviously, he's looking for as many options as possible, but I think this is what can fit his needs the best, because remember in the playoffs, Milwaukee just lacked a shot creator, somebody that could do it off the dribble, could use the pick and roll. That's what Chris Paul is. He can do all of that. So I'm hoping, well, I'm not hoping because I don't want the Bucks to win. But this looks like it's the most likely trade to happen this offseason. George Hill and Eric Bledsoe, that's I would try my best to keep George Hill. I would try my absolute best to try to keep George Hill, trade away Ersan Ilyasova and DJ Wilson, and throw in like a first rounder in a second. Because George Hill, while I know he's going to be replaced by Chris Paul, but having him as a backup this year was like, he was the most efficient player in the league. He was on a 50-40-90 and shot 96% from the free throw line. And while they only did get through one round of the playoffs this year, he did play great in both series. But if that's what it takes to get Chris Paul, then you have to do that. And just for the last thing, since Chris Paul has 2 years left on his gigantic contract and they'll dump Eric Bledsoe, then they'll have more than enough cap space to sign him, which isn't a problem for them.
Yeah. And I think them trading away their 2 guards, this could be the right move, but do they have any other guards on their team other than Bledsoe?
They have Dante DiVincenzo, and I guess Middleton is kind of a guard, but
yeah. But like I'm just wondering like who would play backup for
that's what I'm
Paul.
saying. I'm saying you should try to do your best to keep George Hill. Because I'm not saying that Chris Paul is going to get injured, but Chris Paul is going to get injured at some point in the season. Like obviously that's like, I think because you need to space out his minutes to where you can play him the best in the playoffs, because that's when Milwaukee's going to need him the most, because this team was fine without a Chris Paul and still was first in the East. So that's why I'm saying you should try your best to keep George Hill.
The final trade we're going to talk about is TJ Warren to the Blazers. The Blazers would receive TJ Warren and TJ McConnell, 2 TJs. The Pacers would receive Trevor Ariza and a 2020 first-round pick.
That's a lot of point guards for the Blazers, because they have Anthony Simons, they have Gary Trent Jr., Damian Lillard, and then TJ McConnell. That's 4 point guards. Obviously, you can. Yeah.
This seems to me like a lopsided deal. I mean, Trevor Ariza isn't really that good.
No, but
TJ Warren
it's
is
an unprotected first round pick. That's like, I would say throw in a second, or maybe, like I said, trade one of your point guards.
Yeah, I feel like the Blazers are getting the most out of this deal. I mean, they're getting TJ Warren, who's shown that he can be a great role player or like a borderline all-star. And then they also get TJ McConnell, who's like an added bonus. And then you're only giving up Trevor Ariza. I feel like that's really good for the Blazers. If the Pacers were to accept this deal, this would be really good.
I don't know how long Carmelo Anthony can play at the level he did in the bubble, but he played really well in the bubble. Like, Bleacher Report's acting like he just doesn't exist here, and TJ Warren's going to be their third scoring option. But also, they're using this McConnell's racking up 9.6 assists per 36 minutes. The per 36 minutes stat doesn't make a lot of sense to me, just because that's so situational to where, because the reason they're a role player is because they can't play 36 minutes. So they wouldn't average 9 assists in 36 minutes because they're not good enough to do that. But McConnell's averaging, let's see what he's actually averaging. Obviously, he's a solid backup point guard who's somewhat of a shot creator. I don't like, that's 4 point guards for the Blazers. I would give away Gary Trent Jr. and maybe Anthony Simons. Like you said, Ennis, this is a lot better for the Blazers than it is for, obviously, the 2020 first round pick. It's unprotected. That's worth a lot. But Trevor Ariza is kind of garbage now.
Yeah. TJ Warren is a really good player.
Yeah.
Him alone is probably worth more than Trevor Ariza in a 2020 first round pick.
Yeah. So,
and then on top of that, they're adding TJ McConnell. So
I don't know. I don't think that. If anything, I think I don't think TJ McConnell is tall enough to fit what obviously the Blazers, if the Blazers had like the Rockets wings, like a PJ Tucker and a Robert Covington, then they would be set. Like, I think they could be like a potential like second seed team if they had that.
Thank you guys so much.